In southwestern New Mexico, supporters of a diversion on the Gila River have spent almost $14 million over the past 7 years trying to stake their claim to the Gila's water. Now, while the effort has been consistent, the plan has changed. Everything from where the diversion will be built to how much water it will take from the river. Now, in August, environmental correspondent Laura Paskus took us on a trip down to the Gila. We're revisiting that episode of Our Land because there are new updates on the project. We'll speak to Laura in just a few minutes about that news. First, here's her report.
The Gila River runs out of the Mogollon Mountains, nurturing bears, mountain lions, coatimundis, and wolves. It supports more than 200 species of birds, plus endangered fish, and Gila trout, which evolved to survive the river's drastic flow variations. Most of the year, the Gila runs between 20 and 2,000 cubic feet per second, depending on mountain snowpack and summer storms. There aren't dams and reservoirs in the river's headwaters, so when the Gila floods in New Mexico, it churns up the channel, tears apart its floodplain, like in September 2013, when storms sent 30,000 cubic feet per second down the river. The river also feeds pasture lands in the Cliff Gila Valley, cotton and alfalfa farms in Verdon, New Mexico, and then winds its way all the way across Arizona, where it meets the Colorado River in Yuma. Todd Schulke, co-founder of the Center for Biological Diversity, has spent 3 decades protecting this waterway.
We're right at the edge of the wilderness, and the headwaters of the river are above us. There's multiple forks of the Gila River that come together at the top of the wilderness, and then the main stem flows through the Gila Wilderness, which is America's first wilderness. It was designated in 1924. So it's a pretty special river in that way, that really in some ways it was America's first wilderness river.
At the urging of conservationist Aldo Leopold, the U.S. Forest Service established the Gila Wilderness 40 years before Congress passed the Wilderness Act. Today, more than 3 million acres are protected, but the river itself is still vulnerable.
There are a few ongoing threats. Actually, we just finished an extensive grazing survey. There are cattle illegally grazing the river that we're trying to get a handle on. Actually, we got cows off the rivers in the Southwest in the late 90s, and they've found their way back. So we're trying to deal with that. But really the biggest threat is the Gila diversion, the dewatering of the river. And we've been fighting that for about 15 years, and there have been multiple proposals to dam the river and dewater the river going back almost 100 years. So it's been this ongoing battle just to keep the river flowing in this natural state.
Over the past few years, the state of New Mexico has floated plans for new diversions on the river.
This is the first place you get when you come out of the wilderness, and families love to come here. It's just a wonderful spot, and if they'd have built a diversion here, it would just completely ruin this great spot. So, it's special, and I think about that every time I come here, that we saved this spot. We still have battles downstream, but we saved this spot. It's pretty important to us.
There's a long history of attempts to dam this river. In the early 1900s, the federal government dropped plans for 2 different dams, realizing the river's flows were too varied and too small. But in the Southwest, where rivers are truly life, battles still raged over the Colorado River and its tributaries like the Gila. In the late 1960s, Congress authorized billions of dollars to build the Central Arizona Project and granted New Mexico additional rights on the Gila. Congress also authorized another dam on the Gila, Hooker Dam, which the growing environmental movement helped defeat. Decades later, New Mexico Senators Pete Domenici and Jeff Bingaman helped Arizona resolve Indian water rights settlements. With that 2004 law, Congress also gave New Mexico a way to leverage those additional Gila water rights, which had languished unused since the 60s, pay an exchange fee, and trade water with the Gila River Indian community downstream in Arizona. That law came with federal funding and a deadline.
This is kind of a very practical statute. It said everything's complicated with water. The Colorado Basin is super complicated. The Gila piece of the Colorado is. The water issues in these 4 counties. So we're going to give you 15 years to figure this out.
Pete DeMedici Jr. has been working on Gila water rights issues since the late 1990s, even before his father helped pass the law that set plans for the latest diversion into motion. Under that 2004 law, New Mexico had 10 years to decide how to meet water needs in southwestern New Mexico. And in 2014, the New Mexico Interstate Stream Commission, sometimes called the ISC, decided it would build a diversion on the Gila River and its tributary, the San Francisco. The plan 5 years ago was to spend almost $1 billion on a diversion and pull out 14,000 acre-feet of water each year. Today, plans are scaled back, calling for a 150-foot concrete weir here in the Cliff Gila Valley. It would supply water to farms, not cities, and in good years, the project will capture about 3,000 acre-feet, barely 20% of the 2014 plan.
So the project is a $45 million capital project. There are storage ponds on farm or above farm, but in the valley, on the upper Gila. There's storage ponds in Burden. They use the same exact diversion that's already in use, so they're integrated, very well integrated with what's already going on in Burden. And then there's the San Francisco, where we've agreed to fund a diversion, which is badly needed.
Today, DeMedici is the attorney for the New Mexico Central Arizona Project entity, the group of New Mexico counties, towns, and irrigation districts in charge of planning, building, and operating the diversion.
ISC looked at taking all the water, using capital funds in this time frame, building and just, a lot more storage. We never envisioned that. We always were envisioning a smaller project for now as a baseline, and one of our main objectives is that this water is, if we don't get it in New Mexico, it not only goes to Arizona, but people start relying on it in Arizona.
He says this fight isn't different from other water disputes between states.
Sort of the analogy is, if you take the Rio Grande, we've been friends with and adversaries against Texas forever over that water in the Rio Grande. This is somewhat similar, although it's a smaller scale, but this is, in my view, New Mexico trying to protect what limited amounts of water it can get, even though a lot of the water comes from New Mexico, but it's allocated to going to Arizona.
No ranchers or farmers have committed to buy that water, but DeMedici says getting the project done now is critical. They need to start with the farm components and someday find money to develop the rest of the water he says New Mexico is owed.
The heart of this project is New Mexico's historical effort to get its fair share of the Gila drainage before the water goes into Arizona.
Not everybody sees it that way. New Mexico's new governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, opposes the diversion. She even vetoed funding from the state's budget. Some local officials and the federal delegation have pushed back too. With all the controversy, with millions of dollars spent, and with uncertainty about the plan's future, many New Mexicans have strong opinions about the proposed diversion. But most people have never visited the Gila River or seen where the proposed diversion will be. Former Interstate Stream Commission Director Norman Gaum has been fighting the state's plan for years.
Well, just focusing on the last 15 years since the Arizona Water Settlements Act was passed, the Interstate Stream Commission convinced the people here that a project was possible and that they could build a project that would help them out. And in fact, that's not true at all. Idea after idea after idea that they've had has failed.
He says plans have been fatally flawed in terms of engineering, costs, and funding.
There's this web of falsehoods that underlays the project that's led people who really don't have the wherewithal to dig into the reports and understand them, has led them to believe that it's feasible and it's something they can do and that they can pay for, which simply isn't the case.
He also says the river doesn't have the water to spare, especially as the climate warms and snowpack declines. And every drop of the Gila has already been allocated.
what people need to realize about this diversion is that the water was all spoken for 100 years ago. And so the idea that New Mexico has a water right, it has a water right if it pays to replace the water by importing water from the Colorado River to the Gila River to replace every bit of water that's diverted here. And the only time that water can be diverted is when all downstream demands are satisfied.
Despite the century-long fight over the Gila's water, this project lays bare questions about the future of Western water projects and the future of rivers like the Gila. Unlike rivers all across the United States, the Gila in New Mexico still doesn't have big dams or reservoirs.
Well, my personal belief is that the Interstate Stream Commission, the state, didn't do its homework, and what they thought was a solution, in fact, really doesn't work.
Now, he says, proponents are rushing to meet deadlines and finish planning by the end of the year, when the federal government needs to make some decisions. Already, the state has spent more than $15 million on plans, consultants, attorneys, and engineers.
$75 million is left after the $15 million wasted on bad planning could be spent on good projects.
Money could go to non-Gila water projects in Grant County, or to develop a sustainable water supply for mining communities like Hurley. Projects, he says, would benefit tens of thousands of New Mexicans, and not just a few dozen.
There are other water infrastructure projects in southwest New Mexico that could be fully funded. The whole backlog list of water infrastructure projects that's been presented to the legislature for funding could all be funded from the Treasury, from the federal dollars that have been deposited into the state's account. But the state's chosen not to do that.
But when it comes right down to it, GOM wants to protect the river.
It's a very special river. It was set aside so that people could enjoy it in the state that it's in. Aldo Leopold, who I've come through my life to respect enormously, had the foresight to recognize its value and set it aside. So what I wish that people knew about it is what a special place it is and why it deserves to be protected and why we need to save it for the generations that come after us.
For New Mexico in Focus and Our Land, I'm Laura Paskus.